Oh shit, this thing, your Raveey dogs on uploaded already?
Hello!
Man,
This is not
I'm
happening.
so excited! I'm gonna go ahead and get some
is not
fried
happening.
watermelon from KFC! Oh
This is not
shit,
happening.
Thought
nigga!
they supposed to be saving our asses.
Looks like there's been a change of plans.
What's going on, guys? It's me, Raveey. Thank you so much. We hit 1,000 subscribers, and sorry that this video came out a little bit late. I was not expecting to hit that goal so quickly, dude. Like, literally in a couple of days. But a couple weeks ago, I asked you guys, people in my Discord server, what Iceberg would you guys like to see me do? And though it was tied, it was between Creepypasta and Left 4 Dead, as you can see. And if you guys take a look at my channel, you guys can see that it's you know, I play a lot of Left 4 Dead. So I decided, you know, I feel like it would only be correct if I did a Left 4 Dead 2 Iceberg. So this video may be a little longer than others, but trust me, we'll get through this, we'll learn a lot, and please subscribe and like and share this video with others. This video took me a lot of time to do and also make. This is the Iceberg that we're gonna go through. As you guys can see, layer by layer, I customized and made this iceberg myself. So I combined all of the icebergs that I found into this one. So Left 4 Dead 2 has been a favorite game of mine ever since 2012 when I first started playing it when I was little. But with that being said, let's get on with the video.
Just a quick warning, guys, before you watch the video. Not really a warning, but I just wanted to let you guys know, just in case if I do sound different to you guys. But this video did take me 2 months, and throughout the 2 months, I used my voice for this video, so in some segments I might sound different, in some segments you might hear my AC or fans, so just a quick side note. Also, thank you guys for 2,000 subscribers, and enjoy the video.
The Midnight Riders. The Midnight Riders are a fictional rock band in the Left 4 Dead 2 franchise. They're referenced through posters, graffiti, music, and through quotes, specifically Coach and Ellis. You first hear about them in the Dark Carnival campaign, but you never see them, at least not yet. The tank is, well, a tank. It has around 6,000 HP, depending on what game mode or difficulty you're playing on. The tank in the Left 4 Dead 2 franchise is a ultimate powerhouse among the infected. A enormous, muscle-bound beast who could hurl chunks of concrete, smashing survivors with devastating melee attacks, and absorb a ridiculous amount of damage and fire from guns. When you hear his intense music and feel the screen shake, it's time to run. You gotta go, you gotta move. He's not just a boss, he's a full-blown panic event in a single body. He is not a zombie you should be messing around with. Like the tank's partner, the witch is also another boss infected that you meet in the game. The witch is an infected that usually either wanders or sits in place, and typically you'll know if a witch is around when you hear a distinct crying noise. The witch uses her long and sharp nails to scratch down a survivor, incapacitating them, and in other cases, killing them. Though she could be easily dealt with via teamwork or just a simple shotgun blast to the head. Bill Dies is referring to the sacrifice and the passing DLCs. It's referring to Bill, who is a Left 4 Dead 1 survivor, a old Vietnam War veteran, who sacrifices himself to restart the generator for his team so they could escape.
Bill gets overrun by infected and soon killed.
Later in the passing DLC, you'll see him dead as a corpse in the generator room.
Wow Such Gaming, aka WSG, is a popular Left 4 Dead 2 YouTuber who plays Left 4 Dead, talks about its lore, talks about its storyline, and so on. He has around 823,000 subscribers as of now, and honestly, he's one of my favorite YouTubers to this day. Just like Wow Such Gaming, Peak Temper is another Left 4 Dead 2 YouTuber who typically uploads Left 4 Dead 2 funny fail moments content onto his channel. As of now, he has over 140,000 subscribers. Noam Chomsky is an Easter egg that you'll typically find in the Dark Carnival campaign. He is a prize that you could win in a carnival minigame on Chapter 2. Once you win him, he doesn't really do much. He's more so just a joke Easter egg. Though there are some achievements that you can get with him, such as Guardian Gnome, carrying the gnome all the way to the rescue vehicle at the end of the campaign, which unlocks the achievement. By the way, did you know Valve launched Noam Chomsky up into space?
7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2.
And there goes the fairing, and welcome to space, Mr. Noam Chomsky.
Yeah. Pretty cool stuff. 11/17 is the date of when Left 4 Dead and Left 4 Dead 2 first released. November 17th, 2008 and November 17th, 2009. Overall, a pretty special date.
I ever tell you about the time Keith tried to deep fry a turkey? Third-degree burns over 90% of his body. His doctor called up, like other doctors, to look at him because they'd never seen burns on top of existing burns. I ever tell you about the time my buddy Keith drove his car off a cliff, broke both his legs? My buddy Keith lived in a graveyard once for a whole year.
Throughout Left 4 Dead 2, Ellis constantly tells crazy, funny stories about things he did with his buddy Keith before the zombie apocalypse. The joke is that Keith is some kind of unbelievably unlucky but indestructible redneck. Keith is Ellis's off-screen best friend, known only through Ellis's wild, hilarious stories. He's basically a cartoon character who survives through impossible stupidity. Pillsyear is a popular voice line used by characters when they spot or hand out painkillers, a temporary health boost that you'll find around the game. And it's became a meme because of how often it's shouted during the gameplay, especially Lewis. People often think and theorize that the painkillers are some sort of drug that induces and addicts the players into getting more and more. Pretty weird stuff. Who's Cooking Tonight is a Left 4 Dead 2 Gmod video made back in 2012 May 8th. It has racked up almost 45 million views to this date, with 500,000 likes. It is a very well-known video and just showcases the characters arguing, fighting, and their silly humor, I guess you could say. Pretty good video, you should go watch it. Jimmy Gibbs Jr. is a fictional race car driver in the Left 4 Dead 2 franchise, idolized by Ellis and sometimes Coach, and mentioned several times throughout the game. He only appears once as a special infected on the finale of Dead Center, the campaign. He has about 1000 HP, but does the same amount of damage as a regular infected.
He moves faster, he's more aggressive, and he's resistant to fire damage due to his racing suit. He behaves like a stronger, faster common infected, but without any special attacks. Basically an uncommon infected, which we'll get into later. In Chapter 2 of the Passing DLC in Left 4 Dead 2, there is a very, very small chance that you'll see the Midnight Riders drive by on their tour bus right outside of the bar. It is a very rare Easter egg, about 1 in 20 chance. This goes to show that the Midnight Riders probably escaped and are driving away from the apocalypse. A lot of people theorize that the Midnight Riders could be playable characters in Left 4 Dead 3, but who knows? Maybe that wasn't them. The green flu is basically the virus that started the whole Left 4 Dead pandemic, turning infected humans into violent zombie-like creatures. Unlike traditional undead, the infected are still biologically alive, which makes the green flu more of a rabies-like pathogen that triggers extreme aggression, loss of higher brain function, and in some cases, grotesque mutations that result in special infected like the boomer, the hunter, or the tank. It spreads rapidly through bites, scratches, and possibly airborne particles, leading to a global scale outbreak. Despite its name, the flu doesn't exhibit traditional influenza symptoms. Its title likely reflects the rapid transmission and initial confusion about its nature. But another reason why it was also called the green flu was because the name isn't as, worrisome as, rabies or, like the zombie plague. It was probably an idea to contain the public. The virus originates in the US, where the game takes place, and the military, alongside CETA, a CDC-like agency, tries and fails to contain it, leading to mass quarantines, chaos, and eventually complete societal collapse. The Screamer was a cut special infected from Left 4 Dead 2, and while never officially added to the final game, it had a distinct design and gameplay purpose. The Screamer was intended on being a special infected that would alert hordes of zombies by screaming if not killed quickly. It would flee upon seeing survivors and scream if not stopped, triggering a horde event. So kind of like, shooting a car alarm, or kind of like the Boomer's Bile in a way. It was never made into the final game, but it was partially implemented and can be found in the early game files. The Screamer had around 300 HP, so it was not tanky at all. It would have almost the same amount of HP as a jockey. And some behaviors of the Screamer would hide usually around dark corners or closets, and upon seeing survivors, it would run away rather than attacking directly. And if it got far away enough, it would let a loud scream summoning a horde. Why it was cut, there are multiple reasons, and some are, the playtesting showed it was slow in a way, because if you think about it, as players would play the game, the zombie would appear, and instead of attacking, it would run away and then summon a horde. Therefore, the survivor, it is optional, but the survivors would most likely have to chase after it and kill it, which would slow down the gameplay. And it would be a really annoying concept, seeing as you would have to chase this, special infected who would just constantly scream, run away, scream, run away. It would be really annoying. Valve felt the mechanic of alerting hordes was also better done through more direct means like the Boomer Bile or panic events such as car alarms, and technical limitations and balance concerns also contributed. All the while though, a pretty cool infected. Zoe's 3-hand comes from the No Mercy poster, and if you observe closely at Zoe, you can see that there's 1, 2, 3 hands holding up her gun. A lot of people suspect that Zoe could be an alien or some sort of mutated zombie, but it was more so just an art error. created by the devs. Pretty funny though. In the Left 4 Dead universe, an unsettling truth underlies the chaotic world of the infection. Every single survivor is actually infected with the green flu virus, which I stated earlier. While the general population succumbs to the virus and becomes mindless, violent, infected, the survivors are part of a rare group of individuals who are immune to its zombifying effects, yet not completely untouched by it. They carry the virus asymptomatically, meaning they show no external signs of infection and retain their humanity, but they could still potentially spread the virus to others. This subtle detail is hinted throughout the games and supported by dialogue. In fact, this explains why the military in CETA often treats survivors with suspicion and hostility. Not because they're mistaken for zombies, but because they pose a biological risk as living carriers of the infection. There is a long-standing fan theory supported by subtle in-game details that Counter-Strike Global Offense, CSGO, and Left 4 Dead exist in the same universe, just as different stages of the timeline. In this theory, CSGO takes place before the green flu outbreak during a period of global instability, rising terrorism, and black ops operations, which could have laid the groundwork for the virus's eventual spread. Evidence supporting this includes shared maps like zoo and hospital environmental assets, and in-game graffiti and signs that appear in both games. Additionally, both titles are made by Valve and run on the Source engine, and the Left 4 Dead survivors occasionally use military-style equipment and terminology similar to CSGO. Some fans even speculate that the shady bio-research hinted at in CSGO lore may be tied to the creation or accidental release of the green flu virus. While Valve has never confirmed the connection officially, the thematic overlap and reused assets suggest a hidden narrative link that paints CSGO as the calm before the storm, a world on the brink, unknowingly counting down to the zombie apocalypse seen in Left 4 Dead. Now, if this were true, that would make the whole Left 4 Dead CS, that would give it some interesting lore. We're moving on to Layer 3. The Dark Carnival menu screen zombie appears typically on the main menu when this screen typically appears, the Dark Carnival Chapter 2 entrance area. And there is a certain part in this intro of a weird zombie with glowing eyes that'll look at you around the corner before another zombie covers the screen. People speculate it's the clown zombie since they are one of the only zombies who have glowing eyes, but it could also be another zombie that we don't know of. Maybe a cut special infected or a cut uncommon infected, who knows? Pretty creepy though. Payday the Heist is a first-person shooter game that came out on October 18th, 2011. There are certain missions in the game where you can see certain locations like the No Mercy Hospital from Left 4 Dead, including a pretty scary Easter egg of the Left 4 Dead 2 witch jump scaring you from one of the rooms. Why the crossover happened was the fact that Overkill Software and Valve were working really close together at the time. From the building layout to the environmental details heavily imply that it takes place just before the green flu outbreak, which is also why people speculate that Payday is before the Left 4 Dead virus started. Maybe the two games are in the same universe after all. The passing movie references is referencing the sprays that you'll see around the map representing characters from different zombie genres, such as Frank West from Dead Rising, or Nicole from Dawn of the Dead. Even Crazy Dave from Plants vs. Zombies appears here. Jim French was the voice actor of Bill from Left 4 Dead 1. And he sadly passed on December 20th, 2017. A lot of people in the Left 4 Dead 2 community really are passionate about him and mourn his death, as he was very special to the community. He was known for people like Father Gregory from Half-Life 2, Bill from Left 4 Dead, Army Chief from Pandora's Clock. Overall, he was a great actor, and a lot of people on the workshop of Left 4 Dead have created these monuments to remember him by. He died at the age of 89. While he may be missed, the love he left behind will always echo in our hearts forever. On the topic of Bill Overbeck, back in March 2017, Bill Overbeck was added to Dead by Daylight as a part of a collaboration event with Valve to celebrate iconic horror and survival franchises, with Bill specifically chosen because of his popularity, gritty survivor background, and thematic compatibility between Left 4 Dead Zombie Apocalypse and Dead by Daylight's Deadly Trials, introducing a new perk set and attracting Left 4 Dead fans while honoring a beloved character who fits naturally into Dead by Daylight's tone of horrors and survival under pressure. As we said earlier, Bill dies, but in this universe, Bill actually survives and wakes up in the Dead by Daylight universe, trying to survive and help his new group of friends from the monsters that try and kill. Overall, an interesting collaboration that I was not expecting. As you can see here, these are the Left 4 Dead 1 beta models that were gonna be added to the game, but a couple of changes were made at the end. Lewis looks way different to his final self, being he has hair in a much more serious tone to himself, unlike his counterpart. Francis, Zoe, and Bill look a little bit different as well. Really creepy, but also a bit more realistic the more you look at them. It looks creepy to see them before the final art was made of them, but you can still find them in the workshop if you really want to play as them. Throughout certain maps and campaign, you would find a thing called the jukebox, which is a machine that automatically plays a selected musical recording when a coin is inserted. Jukeboxes were mostly popular around the 1940s to the 1960s, their height being the 1950s, and they were a staple for diners, bars, and public spaces. You'll find a jukebox within the bar/restaurant of Chapter 1 of the parish, and when you press your use button on it, it'll play numerous songs. Some of the songs, if you listen closely, do have distinct Easter eggs, and one of them we'll be talking about today. I'll let my friend Smiley do a little introduction for you here. SMSS stands for Save Me Some Sugar, one of the songs that the Midnight Riders have sung. You can find the song or music through the jukebox. Though it is rare to find, it is still playable. Within the part of the song, a guitar is played, but in the background you'll hear a voice, like more so of a mumble or a slur. And at first you can't really make it out, but when you put the song in reverse and play that part backwards, it'll say a mysterious, almost cryptic phrase that says, "Bill is dead." Overall, it's really creepy. Maybe the Midnight Riders were behind Bill's death, or possibly, maybe, the infection? And for the biggest secret that only 0.5% of people know in the Left 4 Dead community, the most secret of the secret, I present. Please subscribe to the Raveeeeey channel, as we put in a lot of work and effort into our videos. Only 0.5% of you guys are subscribed, so for the rest of the 99.5% of people who watch my videos, please consider subscribing, as it would mean a lot to me. Thank you. There is a Left 4 Dead 2 theory that may or may not actually be true, that the NPC Whitaker is a fallen survivor in campaigns like The Passing. Although Whitaker is only featured on one of Left 4 Dead 2's campaigns, he is still linked through the survivors because of his unique dialogue, but his fate was unexpected and kind of sad. But there are also theories that he may be still alive and healthy in the Left 4 Dead universe, but there are many speculations that he is dead and his model was scrapped and used for the Fallen Survivor. The Fallen Survivor, which is basically an uncommon infected that you could typically find in the Passing campaign, he has around 100 HP, so about a spitter's length. One thing that is different from him compared to others is the fact that when you shoot him or damage him or harm him in any sort of way, he'll try to run away from survivors instead of attacking, giving him almost human-like tendencies, and will dodge bullets and climb obstacles to escape from you. Once you kill him though, he will drop random supplies, aka medkits, pipe bombs, molotovs, pills, things like that. The Meat Wall in Left 4 Dead was a scrapped special infected with lots of health, slow speed, and would be considered a weaker version of the tank and similar to the witch based off of the attacks. If the developers were to keep these scrapped special infected like these, I think personally that the game overall would be much scarier and seem to add difficulty. I find it kind of weird that the developers pushed away from the idea of having scarier specials and switched to what the community thinks of as derpy. The Meat Wall would have around the same amount of HP as a tank, if not more, which is why it's called the Meat Wall, and it would be around 20 feet to 30 feet tall, and would be an entity completely made out of flesh or some kind of meat, and he would deal a lot of damage, some people speculating about 20 to 50 per hit. As you can see within the Meat Wall's hands, the Meat Wall looks like it could restrain 2 survivors while also attacking the 2 others. So 2 people would be restrained while the 2 others would have to work their way and try and kill it. I'm guessing his weaknesses would also be, Molotovs, boomer bile, explosives, things like that. Overall, though, he would be a really freaky infected to fight, especially if he appears in the Hard Rain campaign.
The Hell Hog is another scrapped special idea that was supposed to be similar to the Charger because of its ability to stumble or knock back nearby survivors. When people usually talk about the Hell Hog in an Iceberg perspective, it's not really linked deeply with the game lore or has a big impact because the Hell Hog wouldn't have been that good. The real main purpose and goal of the Hell Hog was to be able to distract the survivors and prevent them from continuing the chapter, but the idea was thankfully scrapped for the Charger. Two interesting things about the Hell Hog is the fact as it would only be featured on one of the 14 campaigns, Blood Harvest. Blood Harvest is a campaign where you walk through farmland and forests, so it would honestly be understandable to have this type of infected or zombie. It would be interesting to see the green flu mutate into animals and infect them too. We have seen dead animals like Swamp Fever and Blood Harvest where animals such as pigs, cows, or any type of farm animal, we see a bunch of their dead bodies within little pens. So not too far off of the Left 4 Dead lore, but also a very interesting idea. There is a Left 4 Dead 2 theory that the defibrillator transfers souls, in a way because the defibrillator's revival mechanic was a concept of being able to restore the person's consciousness or soul. In correlation to this, the fan concept also states the defibrillator isn't just restarting the heart, it's bringing them literally back to from the dead. The theory also says that the defibrillator literally takes the person's soul out of their deceased body and turns it into a living state again. Possibly clones, possibly other souls, who knows? Defibrillator is honestly really mysterious, but who knows? In the campaign Dark Carnival, there are fan theories about Dark Carnival being a real place, speculating that it is based in areas like Six Flags in New Orleans, or even Georgia, Alabama, or Louisiana. But there has been no real evidence that Dark Carnival is a real place or based off of a real place, considering that it states in a fictional place. Though a lot of amusement parks may look like Dark Carnival, sadly, it is just fiction. The theory around the infection not aging isn't necessarily true, but can still be considered in the Left 4 Dead 2 backstory because many TV shows and movies have this similar trait to their zombies, or infection. The main few reasons people in the Left 4 Dead 2 community think this is because the zombies have no sign of physical degrading, and they don't rot like the zombies in other medias do, with also no signs of aging. The green flu might halt or massively slow down the aging process, but once fully infected, the host may enter a kind of stasis of being stuck in a state of feral or violent state. Realize that every common or special infected that you run into in the Left 4 Dead 2 game, they all don't look old or young, so may have some truth to it, who knows. The theory around rescue closet survivors is kind of creepy and questionable with its fan theories. This also may correlate back to the defib transfers souls, and I'll talk about that in a minute. But the theory is that clones or survivors you see in the rooms are clones generated by CETA or another Black Ops faction dropped into that area, resentment in that field. The game also helps with the theory a lot because of one reason, being that when the survivors are freed from the room, they are full health but gearless and don't seem to remember anything. This could also correlate to the defib transfer souls because I mentioned that they could be clones, but Who knows, honestly. The theory behind why the tank doesn't take extra damage when shot in the head is quite interesting. A common fan theory is that the virus rewired the tank's brain and nervous system. The green flu may have mutated the tank's brain in a way that its muscles took all the regenerative tissue, and the virus may or may not be trying to reinforce critical organs against damage. Or even that his skull is so thick that bullets can't penetrate it because of the bone density and overall strength of his body, which overall would make sense as seen with the tank. And last but not least, the idea circulating that adrenaline is actually heroin is not too far off. Because, keep in mind, Ellis has mentioned, or has a voice line where he does call it heroin, but then he quickly corrects himself and says adrenaline.
Grabbing heroin, adrenaline.
Which could also be another theory that Ellis might be some sort of drug head. But the factors of the adrenaline in Left 4 Dead 2 are oddly similar to heroin in real life. Some of the similar factors with both of them are the temporary speed boost, faster revive, audio and visuals that might mimic being high. Sounds suspicious, right? What if it's not pharmaceutical grade adrenaline at all, and a street drug like heroin or something chemically adjacent? Maybe Sita's trying to hide something. The jockey malware theory is a type of folklore in the Left 4 Dead 2 community that circled around the audio files of a jockey, and that the community that thinks that the files had hidden malware. This theory started around the 2010s era, where the theories, creepypastas, and things like that were in their prime, and most people would agree that the files were maybe linked to malware. Not only that, people would say that the jockey files would slow down their PC or overheat it and or behave strangely. Some even speculated that certain VPK files and community mods also helped. Left 4 Dead 2 taking place on Mars is the thought that Left 4 Dead may be taking place on some other planet similar to Mars. People speculate this because of the special infected are an example of terraforming gone wrong. Not only that, the skyboxes on some maps have orange sunsets, dust clouds, or even eerie reddish hues, which gives it sort of that Mars or, just a weird vibe to it. Some maps have also a low level of fog and sometimes a desolate terrain, which could suggest an alien planet, especially in some campaigns. Fans of the Left 4 Dead 2 community believe that the military killed the survivors after the event of the parish instead of an actual rescue. They were told that it was for testing and experiments. Fans also speculate that the survivors were either shot down or crashed, betrayed by the military, infected on board, and a no safe haven. The no safe haven meaning that even if they did land somewhere safe, the virus would have already spreaded by then, and they would have potentially been overrun by zombies, leaving no permanent rescue. Honestly, would make sense since Bill from Left 4 Dead 1 did not trust any interactions with the military at all, so don't trust the military, I guess. Purple Francis relates to a bug with a hue or lighting when played as a certain special infected like the tank. At the time of this theory or bug, fans thought that Francis became one of the special infecteds, and this theory only grew when people downloaded add-ons and saw this for themselves.
There's also another fan theory that speculates that Francis could be a potential tank if he wasn't immune, and that this is because he isn't very smart, he's tough, and always angry and wants to fight. Purple Francis is a playable character in Left 4 Dead. He is mostly like the character Francis, but he has a purple hue to him. He owned a root beer factory before the apocalypse and had 3 children and a wife. Purple Francis doesn't really show much character outside of small conversations and reactions to other survivors dying. He is referenced in the Passing campaign by the Left 4 Dead survivors, hinting that, which is then proven to be true in the Sacrifice comics. Francis refrains from speaking about the loss of Purple Francis, hesitating from continuing any conversation regarding him. Nick seems to have been struck by the hard news, which implies that they had some sort of past relationship. In the last chapter of The Passing, you can find Purple Francis roaming on the top floor of the buildings by the port. The survivors don't seem to notice, therefore there are no lines regarding the Purple Francis sighting. Purple Francis' facial features are portrayed by Purple Taylor Knox, and he was voiced by Purple Vince Valenzuela. The speculations or fan theory around the Lambda symbol charger is that the Half-Life universe could be linked with the Left 4 Dead 2 universe. On an even deeper note, some fans think that the Lambda charger has something to do with the scientists at Half-Life, and that the charger is an experiment or perhaps a link with Black Mesa. The lore behind Dude, Where's My Thumb is that Coach may or may not have been infected before at the start of the outbreak, or he's been transforming or mutating. There's also another theory that claims he has lost his thumb from fighting off infected, and is literally missing it because of a fight. And the other theory is that Coach is just making a joke. Dude, Where's My Thumb could also be talking about a Left 4 Dead 2 contest or event where pretty much I'll be explaining from the website. Take a picture of yourself or a friend doing something creative in front of a Left 4 Dead ad. We were blown away by the inventiveness, humor, and Photoshop mastery for some of the replies. Pretty much it was a contest to see who could take the best picture, and that was pretty much it. This was back in 2009. 53,395 is an achievement that you could get on Dead Rising 2007 called Zombie Genocider, where you have to get 53,394 zombies. Then Valve made an achievement in Left 4 Dead 1 with Zombie Genocidist, where you could get 53,395 zombie kills. Then Dead Rising 2 had Z Genocider 2, Genocide Harder, where you had to get 53,396 zombie kills. The green flu in Left 4 Dead mutates and changes so quick, possibly daily, that even CETA, the military, and United States falling isn't even a surprise. So the fact that the green flu could have wiped humanity in 2 weeks is a possibility. I mean, shoot, we have tanks, boomers, common infected. I mean, really, like, what is a human unarmed gonna do in that type of situation, let alone cities? CETA couldn't do much, the military couldn't do much, so it's not really a surprise. Rochelle is 2,116 years old, is referencing the Coach Goes Ham SFM. In the video, you can see Rochelle dies, and it basically just says 100 BC to 2016, RIP Rochelle. And people, I guess, speculate or think that Rochelle is actually 2,000 years old, but I don't know. Let me know what you guys think.
Nick is a shady gambler, con artist who's always on the run and implying a messy romantic history. Maybe he had a serious relationship with someone he actually cared about. When the green flu hit, maybe he wasn't able to get his ex before she was infected, leaving her to turn into a witch. This may be what is driving Nick's negative, cold, and cynical personality. Nick also has voice lines that back up his theories, such as, "I used to know someone like that once," or a subtle line like, "Guess I couldn't save her either." People speculate that the Bible had to do with the green flu and the outbreak that resonates a lot with the plagues, end times, and the collapse of the world according to the Bible. There are also plenty of Bible verses and quotes that show that the outbreak could be linked to the Bible and an unstoppable spread of the infection. In Cabin in the Woods, the movie, there are special infected from Left 4 Dead and Left 4 Dead 2 spotted in glass cages with other types of zombies from almost every type of horror movie and genre. People speculate that the reason specials were added, like the jockey, the smoker, is because of how they act or how their brains function. For example, the jockey is high energy and is literally insane. With that, the specials are accepted in and being held there because they share the same unique abilities as the other special zombies do. Or maybe it's the fact that Left 4 Dead and Cabin in the Woods were gonna try and do some sort of crossover, but sadly it never happened. Headless Survivors could be talking about a glitch in the game or some sort of add-on or mod. I'm not 100% sure what this means. If you guys know, let me know in the comments. I did see this one YouTube video that was called Headless Survivors, and it just showcased the Left 4 Dead 2 survivors without their heads. The transparency was really low, so yeah, other than that, I'm not 100% sure. Jockey disc glitch is probably referencing a couple videos and glitches that you see on Left 4 Dead from time to time. Usually the jockey's head model is glitched or warped onto objects such as the back of trucks, walls, and this usually occurs when the disc you have is inserted while it's damaged or scratched. So don't damage or scratch your Left 4 Dead disc, and definitely don't play with it unless you want your game to be all glitched and weird. There are a lot of TF2 references in Left 4 Dead. A lot of them could be as small as behind cereal boxes, on milk cartons, and even plastic figurines. And some could even stem up to signs, billboards, but it's not surprising since Valve made both games, and both games were really popular at the time and still are. Team Fortress 2 is also referenced, sometimes through voice lines, such as Ellis or Coach or whoever else. Chicago Ted is referenced through a lot of the spray paints and drawings on the wall, and he's interpreted as this badass survivor who kills all of these zombies and is roaming the apocalypse alone. It is not mentioned that he's with any sort of gang or team, it's only just him. And we never see Chicago Ted, so we don't exactly know if he's alive or dead. But it's pretty interesting to see that there may or may not be other survivors, possibly even a Left 4 Dead 3 survivor. Maybe Chicago Ted will be a playable character along with Keith and who knows whoever else in Left 4 Dead 3. back in 2009, Left 4 Dead 2 was launched and honestly took off in the United States. Around that time in the early 2010s, though, PC wasn't really a widespread thing in Japan. And honestly, people could have played Left 4 Dead 2 on the Xbox 360, but this is around the time when the Wii U also came out, and that sort of thing also overtook the Xbox. So Valve, along with a company called Taito, did a partnership and created a plan for their hit game for the Japanese audience. Thus, Left 4 Dead 2 Survivors was created. Basically an arcade version of Left 4 Dead 2 later that year around December before being discontinued back in July 26th, 2017. In 2019, the game files were dumped online, giving people the chance to play the arcade version on their own computer at home. The arcade game controls were kinda quirky and weird considering it wasn't PC, so they gave this nunchuck sort of device along with a mouse for movement and looking around. Left 4 Dead 2 Survivors didn't have the main cast as we know. Instead, they imported these anime-ish characters. A high schooler, a college student, a Japanese-American tour guide, and some guy named Blake Jordan, who is a bartender. The backstory isn't really that great, and it's apparently we were on a school trip and an apocalypse happened sort of thing, which in all honesty doesn't make any sense considering the environment Left 4 Dead 2 gives you. Unlike regular Left 4 Dead 2 where you could play as many games as you'd like through chapters, this arcade machine you need to insert money for something called survivor points, basically playtime points. There were also things like clans, local co-ops, and honestly a really interesting concept that I'm glad that is still here to this day. The Buddha command is pretty much a console command that you would activate in the developer's console that would basically grant you immortality or invincibility. So pretty much kind of like God in a way. It was an old command that people used to use on the dev version of Left 4 Dead, and that was pretty much it. You do lose health, but you don't die or go down, so no need to worry too much. It was pretty much just a test for an alternative. Nick and Francis Gang is talking about the tattoos and certain symbols that you would see on Nick and Francis. So as you can see, if we take a look at Nick's ring, you can see that there's a symbol on it. And if we take a look at one of the tattoos that Francis has, it's also the same symbol. A lot of people speculate that this could mean that Nick and Francis used to be in the same gang together, or perhaps, you know, they were rivals, or who knows. There is a lot of cool, interesting theories about this, and a lot go very in depth. So hey, maybe Nick and Francis knew each other even before the apocalypse, which would be honestly really cool. Survivors stuck in purgatory is pretty much going on the same basis as the Bible predicted Left 4 Dead 2. Purgatory is pretty much the in-between between heaven and hell. Basically, the survivors are stuck on Earth forever, and they will be fighting zombies for eternity. Pretty dark and pretty mysterious if you ask me. I don't think that's true, but a lot of people do believe it, and hey, you know, that might explain the whole clones and infinite lives and survivors and defibs. I mean, who knows? It's a rabbit hole along itself. Helm's Deep malware was pretty much an add-on that people would download, and it would do things like kick you off of the very own game, having weird plugins. a lot of weird stuff, and probably even more that I don't know of. It was a cool map, but people did not know about it up until they downloaded it and then realized, oh shoot, my computer is hacked, or oh shoot, you know, something is wrong. And at that point, they would pretty much get infested with malware. But thankfully, that has stopped. This used to be a thing back in, I believe, 2019, but thankfully the Steam Workshop has stopped it. The sacrifice good ending is a very scarce theory or topic, so I'm not 100% sure what this is indicating or meaning. So if you guys know in the comments, please let me know. But other than that, I'm gonna go based off of what I found. So hopefully this is the right thing, though I'm not 100% sure. The Sacrifice is a DLC in Left 4 Dead, where the Left 4 Dead 1 survivors walk through towns and eventually make it to the ocean, or what I'm guessing is the ocean, a big body of water. And they have to get onto a boat and cross a bridge to get to it. And while doing so, Bill, who's the leader of the group, has to jump down, restart the generator, and basically sacrifice himself because he gets overwhelmed by the tanks and common infected. The good ending is either from this video or a theory that people assume to believe, where Bill instead jumps down, restarts the generator, and somehow manages to get back onto the bridge and regroup with his team, all four of them escaping safely. Once again, if you guys know what this means, please let me know. I would greatly appreciate it. The Angel of Death is a unseen group of survivors in Left 4 Dead 2, usually seen in sprays or graffiti. The members of the groups include Brenda, Jerry, Chris, Phil, Sean, Brooke, Jason, and Jamie. Not a lot is known about them, but apparently this group is some sort of badass zombie-killing group of survivors who have killed over 800 zombies. At least that's all of what we know of. Not a lot is known about the Angels of Death, like if they're alive, if they died, but all that we know is they are a group or a gang of people, pretty much like the four survivors that we know of, and that is about all. Left4Dead411.com is a website. I'm not 100% sure what the website's goal is, and from what I could read and see, it's basically a blog website talking about skills, strategies, news articles, and pretty much everything in between. It does give us a couple news articles, but from what I do see, a good portion of them are not Left 4 Dead related at all. Most of them are just casino, you know, money grab sort of news articles or ads. These could be ads. There is one Left 4 Dead news article that I do see, though it is just a brief rundown on Left 4 Dead 1 and how its mechanics work. If you guys know more, let me know in the comments as well, but honestly, a very interesting website. Left 4 Dead 3 leaked on Valve Tour is pretty much talking about a Valve Tour that they did back in 2013, talking about how somebody or a employee managed to take a picture depicting that Left 4 Dead 3 was in development, but has not yet to be confirmed. Within the picture, you do see at least a few things talking about Left 4 Dead 3. And although I do know that Left 4 Dead 3 did have some art and ideas to go along with it, I'm not 100% sure if Left 4 Dead 3 will ever be a thing, though it is something that us Left 4 Dead members or fans look up to. And hey, I guess maybe one day, maybe they'll release it. I doubt it'll be as great as Left 4 Dead 2 is now.